demands that come from facing terminal and life-threatening illnesses. Find out how to help build Crescent Cove. Visit crescentcove.org.
Millions of America's kids come to school with health problems that get in the way of learning. Asthma, vision problems, dental pain. Let's fix this health crisis in the classroom because every child deserves a fair chance to succeed in school and in life. Learn more at childrenshealthfund.org.
SKOR North on AM 1500 KSTP St. Paul, Minneapolis, 94.5 KSTP FM St. Paul HD2, and on SKORNorth.com. TCL is a proud sponsor of the SKOR North Studios. TCL, America's fastest growing TV brand. It's Purple Daily.
It is Purple Daily on SKOR North, 1500, SKORNorth.com. I'm Rami Makloff, sitting across from Judd Zulgad. You can listen to us at SKORNorth.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at SKOR North, SKOR North. And it's Vikings and NFL talk every weekday at noon right here on SKOR North. And, Judd, it's always fun to talk a little football with you, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Big weekend, too. We're coming up a big weekend, aren't we?
Especially after this jam-packed, just exciting weekend of football between the Pro Bowl and the Senior Bowl. I mean, football fans had their fill of appetizers to get them ready for the Super Bowl.
I couldn't get enough. I just simply couldn't get enough. I mean, that Pro Bowl, of all the All-Star games, what a marvelous display of people's talents. And the best part is now, you know, you wouldn't want the guys who are going to play in the Super Bowl to actually play in that game. So thank God we got rid of them.
Yeah.
We don't need those
the best of the best.
Todd Gurley, get out of here, Todd. Tom Brady, I mean, he wouldn't.
Nobody wants to see
anyway.
Tom Brady. Have you seen the ratings when Tom Brady plays?
No.
Nobody's trying to see Tom Brady.
That Orlando-based game, man, that is some of the best football that you could possibly
Did you
get.
guys see, it was the other day on SportsCenter I was watching, they were talking about, because Tom Brady's been named, I think, to 14 Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
And he's actually only played in one.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
That doesn't surprise me
Literally
at all.
only played in one. Now, so many of them have been because he's gone to the Super Bowl, but even in the other years where he just doesn't play.
That
only started like 4 years ago,
I was
right?
going to say, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
They changed that.
That is of all All-Star games, aside from baseball, to me, are a waste of time. They're corporate shill events. That's it. But the one that, and I know people watch it, God help them. But the one that I would always have canceled is this one.
Yeah.
The Pro Bowl's a complete, because you actually might get hurt.
Right.
Like, God
and
forbid.
especially in a monsoon, apparently it was happening yesterday. And I say apparently because, and I know I'm a sports talk radio host. This might annoy some of the people out there. You might think I'm not doing my job properly. If that's the case, 651-646-8255.
Oh, don't open the door. I know what you're about to say. If they don't like
You're
it.
opening the floodgates.
No. If you are about to be offended what Rami's about to tell you by what he's about to tell you, bleep off.
You can tweet us at SKOR North, or I'm at Rami is tweeting if you'd prefer to get at me directly.
Get lost.
Seriously.
I know what you're about to say.
I was moving in this weekend. I was moving into my new apartment in Minneapolis after I was removed from the terror watch list. And
I'm not so sure that was a good idea.
I was empty.
You still scare me. I mean, that's a personal thing. As a guy named Judd Zulgad, you still scare me.
So all afternoon long, I'm emptying the truck, and then finally the truck was empty, and I'm taking it back to the U-Haul Center, and I don't know if that was a plug or not, but I'm taking it back to the U-Haul Center.
Rami here for U-Haul.
And I'm listening to SKOR North on 1500, and it was one of my favorite radio hosts of all time. I grew up listening to him in Chicago, Jonathan Hood, who now has a national show on ESPN on the weekends.
Love Jonathan Hood.
Along with Dickerson. It's Dickerson and Hood. And they started talking about the Pro Bowl, and I was seriously like, oh, yeah, that was today. That's right. Because I usually have little interest in the Pro Bowl, but with the fact that I'm moving my whole life from Milwaukee to Wisconsin, or from Milwaukee to Minnesota, it wasn't on my radar at all until I heard him talking about it.
I think actually trying to have a discussion about the game. Now, not about the concept, because the concept to me is a waste of time and can be discussed, but actually talking about, well, the Pro Bowl was played today, and what'd you think of so-and-so? Is sports talk at its worst. Like actual attempt to break down Pro Bowl football.
See, they were just
sports talk at its worst.
They were doing a lot of what we're doing here today, which is mocking the Pro Bowl.
And that's okay. Then that's fine. That's fine. I am just like, if you get on today and say, Harrison Smith and Adam Thielen and a group of Vikings played in the Pro Bowl, and here's what I saw from their performance. That's complete. That's this business at its ugliest.
Let's get Pro Football Focus's grades on the Pro Bowl. Yeah.
Amen, Manny. Amen.
Are there sports talk guys who are so sports talky and so crazy about this that they're treating the Pro Bowl seriously? Like guys who turned on the mics today and were like, let's talk Pro Bowl. What you guys think? 651-646-8255.
There have to be, right? There has to be some guys out there who say, so-and-so had a great game from the local team, and isn't that fantastic? I just want to wring their neck. I just want to reach through the radio and wring their neck. This game should be canceled. This game shouldn't be played.
I know Matthew Collar lives, eats, and breathes football, sleeps with a football under both arms. Is he? I don't think he's here today. Is he? Does he have the day off?
He's going to be on at 2 o'clock.
He is going to be on at 2 o'clock. I'd like to know if Matthew Collar is so football-y.
God help him. Honest to God. God help him.
That he actually cares about the Pro Bowl.
If he watched a second of that debacle, God help him. I've hated that game. I have hated that
it's
game
the worst
personally.
All-Star game there is.
But when I think I started to hate it in the 90s. Do you guys recall the Patriots had a young running back, Robert Edwards, who had a great rookie season, and he was fantastic. And he went to that bleeping game, and I'm not joking.
He got hurt, right?
Worse than that. He played in a Pro Bowl, basically some type of game on the beach.
It was a beach football. It was a beach flag football game. So they're running around in sand. They have multi-million-dollar athletes running around in sand.
He didn't just get hurt. He damn near lost his leg.
Yeah.
Like he suffered some catastrophic knee injury. He was done playing, and he was on, not surprisingly at the time, my fantasy football team. In a keeper league. And I had this guy in a keeper league. Now, I will fully admit, since then I've quit playing. I was a loser, okay? But when your guy goes to the Pro Bowl and can't even get off the beach before he has ended his career, I said, this whole thing's a waste of time. Get everybody out.
Yeah, besides the fact that it's just not a good brand of football, the Pro Bowl, the risk of injury is so high that there's really no reason for these guys to be playing an exhibition game. I mean, every season we talk about should they cut down the preseason because they're worried about guys getting injured in meaningless games before the season starts. Now we're risking guys getting injured in meaningless games after the season is over
on a rainy day.
For what?
As you said, it makes zero sense. And fans will come back and say it gets ratings and people watch. And I will say it's still not worth it. Name the teams.
How does it get ratings?
The only teams I care about are the All-Pro teams. The All-Pro teams are very small and mean a lot. And if you're named to an All-Pro team, you had a great year. The Pro Bowl, though, is a complete waste of time. And the fact that guys drop out left and right, the fact that now, because of how it's staged, you don't get the Super Bowl players because fans will watch anything, Ramie. Football fans, this is the question. Where do you draw the line? And I think the answer for some football fans is, I don't draw the line. I don't draw the line. Preseason, don't care. We'll watch it. The worst of the worst, we'll watch it. Pro Bowl, we'll watch it. I think that there are some football fans who, if you ask them, where do you draw the line? They will say, in my mind, there is no line.
They need to go back to playing this game after the Super Bowl.
But can't we just get rid of it, though? Like, why are we doing that?
We know, Judd. We know you always just want to get rid of the damn thing.
Why are we doing that?
I'm just saying, I think if they keep it, if they're going to keep it, they need to go back to having it be played the week after the Super Bowl so that you can at least get, Tom Brady or, Jared Goff in this sense playing in the game.
I really do want to know where you draw the line when it comes to football. Like Judd said, 651-646-8255 or tweet us at SKOR North. And we'll try our best not to ridicule you. If you watched the Pro Bowl, I want to hear from you, and I want to know why.
I'll just remain quiet then.
And if you watched like the whole thing and watched it intently and with purpose, I want to know what that intent and purpose was and why you gave 3 hours of your life over to what is not good football.
And the last 2 days, Saturday, Sunday, are the most useless football days with the sport being played possible. The Senior Bowl. Even the scouts don't stay for that game. They go and watch practices, right? They go to Alabama and they watch practices all week long. But my understanding is most of the scouts get on airplanes then Friday night and go home. So the Senior Bowl, too, is another colossal, the game itself, colossal waste. Because all people care about is practices. They talk to players. They watch, are your hands big enough? How do you look against this guy? But when it comes to the game, basically nobody stays. So Saturday, Senior Bowl, Sunday, Pro Bowl, complete waste of football time.
Yeah, the Senior Bowl practice it's the pre-combine combine.
Yes,
on some level. Guys go there and they'll watch. They'll watch your practice habits. They'll watch your work ethic. How much you're willing to put into the game. Like you said, they'll sit down. They'll interview you. A little face-to-face time. Try to get an idea of what kind of guy you are. But once that game starts, it's like the Pro Bowl. It's a bunch of guys who aren't going to risk life and limb, especially with that big payday right there on the horizon in the NFL draft. So it is. I mean, it's a glorified. It's not even glorified. It's an exhibition. It's a flat out exhibition football game among college football players who are trying to earn an NFL career.
And again, I guess I would come back to why play it then?
I don't know.
Go and practice. I got no problem with the go and practice. You talk to scouts. That's fine. But I do think football is the one sport where you can pick apart and say, if there is, what's the risk? Because there's a risk in every game played, right?
Right.
So it's the one sport where you can basically say, is this all-star college football game, which for years I know had a cachet and was cool. But in 2019, when we know that the scouting departments and these teams are going to essentially be watching you practice and then leave, is it worth, other than TV tonnage, playing a game for? And the answer comes back in both cases, really, no, it's not. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time, and if one person gets hurt, it's stupid.
It's not a complete waste of time, Judd. Do you know why it's not a complete waste of time?
No idea why.
I want a mock! I want to mock!
So the Athletic.
All ears now.
Put out
You play that song, you got me.
a Senior Bowl only look at addressing the Vikings team needs. Vikings mock draft Senior Bowl edition. Judd Zulgad, are you ready for it?
Oh, you bet I am. Let's get some football themed tune though below this.
Oh, can you hook that up, Matty? There you go.
We need something.
Matty will get on it.
Okay, here
There it is. Now I'm
There
feeling
we go.
football-y.
we
You
go.
feel
SKOR North Studios at 3 below. Ramie will read.
you guys feeling football-y yet?
The Athletic came to mock.
Round 1, pick 18. The Vikings, according to The Athletic, and their Senior Bowl mock draft are going to take Zach Allen, defensive lineman out of Boston College, likely moving inside to base end or 3-technique tackle for whichever team drafts him in the NFL. Allen would look pretty good being able to leverage his quickness inside while continuing to play with power. His flexibility and get off don't look great. That's a draft term if I've ever heard one. Get off.
It's a draft term or something else that you can't say or shouldn't say. I don't know which one.
Don't look great compared to other
Ramie,
edge
who worked for a
rushers
week at SKOR
in
North.
the draft, but along the interior defensive line, he can use his impressive physical tools to deal damage to quarterbacks. That is Zach Allen, defensive lineman, Boston College.
That's super thorough right there.
That is-
Wow.
that's only a paragraph.
And that would totally be a Mike Zimmer pick, too.
There's 5 paragraphs on him if you choose, if you care to find out more.
I don't need that much.
Round 2. I just like this guy's name, and I hope I'm saying it right. Round 2, pick 18, Elgton Jenkins, Elgton Jenkins,
Elgton.
center / offensive guard, Mississippi State. They say we covered Jenkins' week in Mobile, excuse me. But it's worth noting that he's had an incredible year as well. Pro Football Focus gave him the second best pass protection grade among centers in the SEC, and he didn't allow a single sack in 2017, only gave up 1 in 2018 with only 6 total pressures given up for the entire season.
I've got a serious question.
Mhm.
Does it say if he's played some guard or not?
Let me see here. They don't, but he's listed as center / offensive guard.
Okay, because you could justify taking a center at some point and moving Elflein to guard because Elflein played guard at Ohio State.
Right.
So there could be. I think you could get away with if you took a guy that played center, putting him at that position, and having Elflein kick out to guard.
How deep do you want to go with this thing? Round 3? Should we stop after round
Go to
3?
round 3,
Okay,
sure.
round 3.
End of day
Pick-
2. End of day
pick
2. Give it to me.
17.
Yeah.
Dalton Risner, offensive tackle / offensive guard from Kansas State. Not enough can be said about the attitude of Risner, who wants to be a tone setter and culture changer for whatever offensive line room he's in, but his best asset might just be his play on the field. He moved quickly to meet speed rushers at the edge and did a good job controlling pass rushers through the arc. Even better, he attacked rushers and dictated the interaction using his impressive strength to stop defenders in their tracks.
So he's a mean SOB is basically
sounds
what
like
that
it.
says.
Sounds like he's a nasty road grader.
I like that, actually.
And then in the 4th round, they have him taking wide receiver out of Buffalo, Anthony Johnson.
Well, so the first round pick was a defensive player?
Yes.
Okay.
And then 2
That would
offensive
be-
linemen and then a wide receiver.
Vikings Nation would not be too pleased if that is the case.
If the first round was a D lineman.
If Zim gets his way again and they take more defense in the first round, I can tell you right now, that Thursday night on Twitter, Vikings fans, there would be an explosion and it would not be one of happiness.
They wouldn't be shocked or surprised, though. They would just be.
I wouldn't be
They would just be mad. Maddie, as soon as I said it,
Yeah.
he said that would be such a Mike Zimmer pick.
You can't let that happen, though. If you're Rick Spielman, you can no longer let it look like Zim, even if it's the right pick. I don't think if you're Rick going into the last year of both your contract and Zimmer's contract, you can allow it to look like Zim has again made your first round pick.
That's the thing too. That could totally be the right pick for them, and that guy could turn into like all pro, first team all pro defensive lineman, and Vikings fans will still hate the pick.
So there's your
–
Senior Bowl only Vikings mock draft, courtesy of The Athletic, here on the Purple Daily Show. We really do want to know where you draw the line as a football fan. 651-646-8255 or tweet us at SKOR North. Are you handing over 3 hours of your time to the Senior Bowl or the Pro Bowl, and why?
Did you watch the Pro Bowl? Call us and tell us why. We might be able to help you. Like, we're sick. We're not that sick, so we can help you. We got. I'm not saying we don't got problems in the studio, because we got problems. Okay.
I watched the first 10 minutes of it yesterday, but that's about it.
And you ducked out. Why? Just
because it was sloppy and it was raining and, and everybody looked miserable.
It's a bad enough game on its own, and they moved it to Orlando where it rains half of every day.
It's so dumb. Just play it. If you're going to play it, just play it in Hawaii every year.
We have to do this.
Why do you need to put it in other places?
I saw a story that said next year it's probably going, where was it going? Out west somewhere, and then it's going to end up probably in the Rams-Chargers Stadium when that place opens as well. Oh.
That kind of makes sense.
The story I saw said there's a very good chance that starting with next year, it's going to go to the Super Bowl venue and be played there to sort of like kick off.
They've done that a couple of times.
Little appetizer.
Yeah.
They've done that a couple times already.
That'd be so exciting.
That's a terrible idea, because people have already spent their money on Super Bowl tickets and plane tickets to this destination. You think they're going to spend more on a Pro Bowl?
Well, the game's a terrible idea.
Because they played it in Miami the year the Saints beat the Vikings and went on to win the Super Bowl. That Super Bowl was in Miami. I think they played the Pro Bowl in Miami because that was the one that McKinney got sent home.
He got kicked off the team because he quit showing up for practice. Thoroughly embarrassed the Vikings. It was outstanding. He went to 2 practices, I believe, 2, and then just no-showed. It was so bad that they kicked him off the team. Like, it's impossible to get kicked off a Pro Bowl team. There's no real practice. But they had these obligatory, 2 meetings. Bryant McKinney didn't show up. They actually kicked him off the Pro Bowl team.
How are you insubordinate enough during a week of practices for an exhibition?
That's a hell of a
McKinney,
you get sent home.
That's a big
And
deal,
McKinney
man.
lived in Miami. So he literally just had to drive from his house to these meetings, show up, and then go get drunk. And he just kept sleeping in.
Like Rod Burgundy said, I'm not even upset. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
He's very impressive.
We'll hit a quick break. On the other side, the price tag for Anthony Barr is starting to clear up, and it's a large figure, and we'll talk about that a little bit. It's Purple Daily on SKOR North on 1500, SKORNorth.com, SKOR North.com, and we'll be back right after this from the TCL broadcast studios.
Welcome to the all-new SKOR North. Minnesota sports, anytime, anywhere. SKORNorth.com.
Did you know that your 401k is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode? This is Phil Mackey. My friend Dale Tondrick, host of the Retirement Playbook radio show, tells me we're now living with the lowest tax rates of our lifetime. But it's probably not going to last, and we have a very small window of time to take full advantage of it. So I suggest you order Dale's complimentary retirement playbook toolkit and learn the strategies Dale uses with his client to position themselves for a completely tax-free retirement. The toolkit includes his new book, The Retirement Playbook, along with a CD called Taxes in Retirement. To order your complimentary retirement playbook toolkit and to learn the 7 simple steps to lower your taxes, go to myplaybookmn.com or text the word playbook to 474747. Again, go to myplaybookmn.com or text the word playbook to 474747. This is a game changer and costs you nothing to order, but could cost you a lot not to order. So order now. Text playbook to 474747.
24/7, 365. You're up and at 'em every day, so you don't want something like Medicare Part D to slow you down. At Walgreens, we'll take care of your Medicare Part D prescriptions, saving you time and money. Make the switch to Walgreens today and get more by earning 100 balance reward points and save up to $5 on each Medicare Part D prescription when Walgreens is your preferred pharmacy. Walgreens, trusted since 1901. Prescription savings applies to Tier 1 generics when you fill at a preferred versus a non-preferred pharmacy on select plans. Points can't be earned in New York, New Jersey, or Arkansas. Other restrictions and limitations apply.
Hey everyone, it's Phil Mackey here. A year and a half ago, my mother died of a rare form of blood cancer. And so in memory of my mother and countless others, we're raising money to fight blood cancer, and we're climbing a skyscraper to do it. 53 floors of the Capella Tower as part of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Big Climb Minneapolis on February 16th, presented by Northwestern Mutual. You can donate or climb with us, Team Mackey, for only $15 if you use the promo code Mackey when you register at BigClimbMinneapolis.com. Learn more at SKORNorth.com, keyword climb.
Hey, Royce, we want to show people how easy it is to find the Garage Logic podcast.
Why?
Just read this one line.
One line?
Yes.
Alexa, play Garage Logic.
Okay.
Why? I hear Joe for the last 25 years. Alexa, play Beast of Burden.
No!
My favorite Stone song. I'll never be.
Oh, my God.
Finding the Garage Logic podcast is easy.
Where's Rook?
Go to GarageLogic.com, the Apple Podcast app, wherever you find your podcasts, or
Find Garage Logic on Alexa. That's enough.
Guys, are bedroom troubles killing your sex life? Gainswave can help. Gainswave is a revolutionary medical treatment for ED. Requires no shots, no pills. You can be spontaneous again. Gainswave is a scientifically validated therapy to restore blood flow and treat the root cause of ED. The prestigious medical journal, the Urology Times, calls it a potential cure for ED. For more info, visit GainswaveMN.com or call Plymouth Regenerative Care at 763-325-4998. That's 763-325-4998.
Tell me where the freaks at.
SKOR North, Minnesota sports. Anytime, anywhere. SKORNorth.com.
And this portion of Purple Daily is brought to you by Robert W. Baird & Company.
Purple Daily on SKOR North, 1500 and SKORNorth.com. We'd like if you followed us on all your various social media platforms. You can actually watch us right now live on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. That's at SKOR North, at SKOR North is how you can follow us and see Judd and my beautiful, beautiful faces right now.
Is
live
that what you call them?
on the internet? Facetiously.
We don't mean to scare people.
We're on the radio.
But it's Monday.
We're on the radio for a reason. Judd, a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was my first Purple Daily show that I did with you, and we were talking about some of the tougher decisions that the Vikings have as far as some of their potential free agents coming up this offseason. Courtney Cronin, who you can often hear right here on this very show, along with Matthew Collar a couple times a week. She had a piece out about the contract situation of outside linebacker Anthony Barr, who they could put the franchise tag on him and not let him hit free agency. He said, quote, I'm not sure there really is a plan about free agency. He said, I think it kind of dictates itself. I've done what I've done, and what's going to happen is kind of out of my control. Obviously, I'll have a choice, hopefully, as to where I go, but I can't control much more than what I'm doing now. And the franchise tag, price tag, would be about $12 million, if I'm not mistaken, is what I read in Courtney Cronin's article here. Oh, 15,
actually,
excuse me.
It's going to be higher than that.
That is... He's a very good player and had a bit of a drop off in his play this year, but I think that hamstring injury, which cost him a couple of weeks, probably hampered his play even when he did return to the field. But even Anthony Barr at peak Anthony Barr, when that hamstring is right and everything is going well, as good a player as he is, with some of the other needs that are on this Vikings roster, I just don't know that I can go that high, even if it is for just 1 year and one more crack at it during the Kirk Cousins era to have the best defense you can have. There is just too many other glaring holes that they need to address with whatever little cap room they do have to give $15 million over to Anthony Barr.
I've gone back and forth on this quite a bit, and at one point in time, I convinced myself that they might franchise him, but at 15 mil, I don't think so. Here's the problem. So here's among the conundrums, here's my biggest one, and it's Barr himself. One is, I think we've seen that this defensive system is not the best one for him. It's a good one, and
Right.
it works for lots of players. But if you had a 3-4 and Barr rushed, I think he'd be fantastic. And I think that's the type of team that should sign him. The other problem, though, is this one. And this is This is an issue that I don't know the answer to the question. And if I was going to sign this guy to a huge, especially multi-year contract, I have to have the answer. What am I going to get? Because I can't decide. There are times where I convince myself, man, if Barr was used correctly, he would be a Pro Bowl player, an all-pro consistently. He'd be fantastic. 3-4, he'd be great. And then there's times I've watched him play in this defense, Ramie, and he looks really, really good. He looks fantastic. And then there's times I've watched him play and I thought, what's going on? Where is he? And I can't decide, is that a product of the fact that this defense is not the best possible fit for him? Or does he at times get up for games and he plays great? And then there's times he doesn't. And with the problems that this team has, especially that need to be addressed on offense, can I go to a guy like this and use a large portion of my cap on him, not knowing if I'm going to get 16 fantastic games? Am I going to get 10? Am I going to get 4? So if he had played like he does occasionally all the time, this becomes to me a big conversation, and it's a very difficult decision ultimately. But because he doesn't, I just can't take the risk of us having this discussion, let's say in December of next year, and we're saying, boy, they signed Barr to this huge contract, and in these 3 games, he was just lights out great. And in these 10 games, he was okay. So I've pretty much now come around to a point where if you're going to spend this cash, I don't see how it can go to Barr.
I was chalking up the inconsistency of this past season, at least in part, to the fact that he had that hamstring injury that kept him out a couple of games. And a lot of the time in the NFL, these guys have these injuries and they'll miss a game or two and then they'll come back, and fans expect them to just return right to pre-injury level. And I think what a lot of people don't consider sometimes is that, yeah, the guy came back from the injury, but he's probably gutting it out. He's probably still not back to 100%. And I'll always give a guy sort of the benefit of the doubt in that situation and chalk up any sort of drop off in their performance or any inconsistency in their performance to that injury and trying to get back to 100%. Has this been an issue with Anthony Barr throughout his career, the up and down,
Yes,
inconsistent play?
very much so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Then that kind of changes my view of things here.
But it's just so much. And again, I think a starting point for everything that this team does is Rick and Mike have to sit down, and Rick has to tell Mike, you are a defensive coach and you're really good at that. And we can't then just go get guys for that side of the ball. Now, Mike's going to come back and say, well, you went and got Kirk. And that's a fair point. But the fact is, you saw in 2018 that Kirk Cousins needs help. And you can't put him out there and say, Kirk, you're the star and everybody else contributes. You have to have a line that's improved. It doesn't have to be great, but it has to be better, right? You've got to be smarter about how things operate, but you're going to have to spend more offensively to help prop Cousins up than you did. And if you take that tag, $15 million on one player who might give you, I would say through a fair judgment through the course of Barr's career, if you give him that franchise tag, you're going to probably get 5 to 6 great games. That's not going to offset the fact that you've now spent that on, once again, on the defensive side of the ball, and you haven't propped up Kirk on the offensive side.
Let me ask you this. I don't know if this constitutes as reckless speculation, but You talked about the fact before that he's best when he's rushing the passer. And he admitted that himself, telling Courtney Cronin, I think it plays to my strengths more so. I think I'm better going forward than backward. I can do it, but it's more natural for me, and I'm able to affect the game more when I rush the passer. The 4 most valuable positions in the NFL are, in this order, quarterback, the guys who protect the quarterback, namely left tackles, guys who chase the quarterback, and the guys who try to stop wide receivers in cornerbacks and defensive backs. Anthony Barr is worth a whole lot more if he is just a pass rusher. Do you think because they're not going to change the system for Anthony Barr. They're not going to make it a 3-4 system,
right?
And put him at outside linebacker. Do you think he has what it takes to just make the change to be a defensive end, put him opposite Danielle Hunter? And do you believe enough that he has what it takes to play that position that you're willing to gamble $15 million on a franchise tag and do that?
I think if you were dedicated to that, I think you could. I think the issue is Mike won't. I think Mike sees him because it's crystal clear now. Barr came in, was a first-round pick in Zimmer's first year. And he has been used as a rusher at times, but not consistently. So I think what you could safely say is if they were going to go down the path that you just suggested, it might work, but they're not going to. And so he's going to rush at times, and he's not going to at times. And if Anthony Barr is going to have any chance of maximizing his capabilities on a weekly basis, it's going to be as a 3-4 rush the QB. And I don't see, because the whole conversation about 3-4-4-3 is sort of, I mean, teams morph in and out of things so much now that the traditional we're a 4-3 is pretty much gone. But the other problem too, though, and the thing we can't answer, and the reason why I'm not willing to make the investment it's going to take, is if you put Barr in a position to succeed on a weekly basis and say, okay, we've never seen this before, but go to it, be great all the time. I don't know that you get that. And so somebody's going to gamble. And if I'm the Vikings with my cap presently constructed as is, I'm not going to take that chance, because what if we find out that he works his ass off 5 games a year? And then there's a package of games where he's okay, but not great.
What I like about this particular scenario that I laid out, turning him into a defensive end full time, and giving him that franchise tag at $15 million is it's basically a 1-year trial run. Anthony, let's see if you can do this. And if he can, then that's a guy worth paying. If he can consistently get after quarterbacks from the defensive end position week after week, like I said, that's the second or third most valuable position in all of football.
At what price, though?
The position and the role that he plays now is not worth $15 million,
Absolutely.
Especially given the weaknesses and holes that they have elsewhere on the roster.
Absolutely.
But if they move him to defensive end and he can get after quarterbacks week in and week out, a contract extension in the neighborhood of $15 to $17 million a year is actually reasonable and kind of worth it. And so you get that 1-year trial run of seeing if he's that guy that you're talking about, who you can expect to show up 5 or 6 games a season, or if he's one of the better pass rushers in the league.
I think the problem, though, is this. If you do that, if you thought that you were going to be a nice team in 19, so let's say that you thought, okay, we could be a good team. We're not quite sure where things stand. We're trying different things. We've got some cap room, not much. It's fine then. But again, this team is going to come back, go into training camp, at least internally and in this town, with expectations that you had an incredibly disappointing 2018 and that you're going to turn things around quickly and go back to being the team that you were in 2017. So my question to you is, as you watch this unfold, if you're wrong on Barr, you just made an enormous investment for that year in an area when you could have helped your line, you could have helped elsewhere. And so if this was a team in the midst of saying they're going uphill and with Barr, you're not quite sure, and you want to find out who he is, I think your scenario works. The issue is, I don't think in 2019, with your GM and coach going into the last year of your contracts, that you have the capability to be wrong. And if you're wrong, you're in big trouble.
I've always hated the order of the NFL offseason that you have free agency and then the draft. I would love if they flipped that and if the Vikings, if they did that, the Vikings could have their draft and then go into the free agency period knowing whether or not they've really addressed their offensive line needs. And I think a lot of teams find themselves in a position like this where they have an impending big-time free agent or a guy who could be a big-time free agent, and they're sort of stuck in the middle, not knowing what's going to happen in the draft and the rest of the offseason and the second wave of free agency that always comes after cuts. If they flipped it, I think teams would have a lot more clarity. You could have your draft, know what holes you've addressed, and then go into free agency and know which guys you need to retain, what positions you still need to address from the outside in.
Interesting philosophy, yeah. The problem with that, though, is aside from very few picks, the internal optimism and feeling that you've solved issues might be too strong, because the draft gets you what? The draft gets you a lot of hope. You know, you break it down, and teams do. They're like, okay, we address this and that, and then you get to training camp and you're like, oh, wow, this kid's not prepared. So I get your point, but I do think the structure of things as currently constituted is good in the sense that, because the hubris of so many of these teams is to be like, we know exactly what we're doing, right? We know what we're doing in the draft. We're sure of ourselves. And then you're like, no, you're not. You got no clue here. So I think it's good that teams are almost forced to start off the system by addressing big time needs potentially. And then you're like, okay, then we're going to draft this guy. And we think, because you don't know outside of the top 10 picks or so, you just don't know. Laquan Treadwell was supposed to be good. My God, he's awful.
Did that not work out?
But I mean, but the Vikings came away from that draft seriously saying, we addressed this wide receiver need. We've taken care of this. Cordell Patterson, we got this athlete. He's going to be a freak, and we're going to bring him in. And a wide receiver, he couldn't run a route. Couldn't run a route. You took him in there. You traded for him. Took him in the first round.
Should have put him at running back like Bill Belichick did.
Bill Belichick, as I said last week, is simply any team. You know what? The first thing, if I owned a team, the first thing I would ask folks is this: what have you learned from Belichick, and how much do you copy that? And if you say, oh man, I am a patriot way, I say, get out. Because you're an idiot. You got no chance of copying Bill Belichick. He's smarter than you.
You took a hard left turn on me there, because I thought you were looking for like a Bill Belichick protege, and I was going to say that hasn't really worked out with guys off his coaching tree.
I don't want anybody that comes to me and says, Belichick, I take a coaching page from him and personnel page. I say, get out of here.
You can't.
You've got no chance. You are likely an idiot, and he is the Einstein of the National Football League.
Right.
Get out.
The other thing, too, is just stop trading with the Patriots, too. Stop dealing with them.
Do you want to tell Rick that? You want to call Rick right now and tell him that? I could have told him that. Yeah, you're right, Manny. You're right.
There are teams like that in every sport. And in the NFL, the Patriots are that team where your team makes a trade with them, and you're like, what did they know that we don't?
That's right.
What exactly?
The Randy Moss trade, right?
Yeah.
The Randy Moss trade.
Wasn't the pick
Patterson trade?
Yeah, the pick that ended up being Cordero was.
And in fact, the Patriots got, I think, 3 or 4 picks. They took the linebacker who was really good for them for a short period, and then they soured on him and traded him to Cleveland. But I believe there was a Patriots team shortly after the Patterson trade that had, this off the top of my head, that had 2 or 3 starters from the Patterson trade. I think they had at least 2 starters that they had taken in that draft. The Vikings are stuck with this guy that can't run a route to save his life, and he returns kicks. Oh, that's great.
Right. And then that guy ended up with the Patriots this year.
Yeah. And where did they use him? Running back. Which Collar 3 years ago wrote an impassioned thing about, okay, this makes some sense. Use him as an athlete. He can't run a route. That's fine. Let's go. Let's do something different. Oh, we can't do that. It's National Football League. I know better than you do.
You know what just dawned on me just now as you were talking about Bill Belichick and his coaching tree not working and not wanting to hire guys off of it. Sean McVay is the anti-Belichick in every way. You want everybody off his coaching tree. Sean McVay, he has perfect hair and he's a very, very stylish look, where Bill Belichick doesn't care what he looks like. He shows up to every press conference disheveled in a hoodie with cut off sleeves.
It's fantastic. Now, I have taken a page from that. Don't criticize that. I have very much taken a page from the Belichick wardrobe.
He loves talking to the media and getting in-depth and articulate about game plans and what they did or what they want to do, where Bill Belichick is just going to give you one-word answers. What?
Do you know what the key is to these jobs? And the starting point is you have to be good, okay? But if you're good, the key is very, very simple. Who are you? Be yourself. You're not Belichick. You know, if the next group of guys is going to try and be who? McVay, right? They're going to try and be the hip McVay.
They're all trying to do that. They're
but you're
already
not,
trying to do
and
that.
you're not that. And that's fine. Dungy was himself. He didn't swear. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. I think there were a lot of people that looked at Tony and said, well, what's the there here? He's not a football coach, but he was himself, and he was fantastic. I think the ultimate key to success is do not take a page from Belichick, McVay, Dungy. Either you're good or you're not good. But it's you. It's got to be you. It can't be, well, I learned this from Bill, and now I'm going to be like Bill. You know, Parcells. Parcells was a gruff SOB, but he was Parcells. That's who he was. Be yourself.
Did you guys see the story of, it's on ESPN, of apparently Sean McVay and Bill Belichick texted each other throughout the season.
McVay offered that up, which surprised me.
Yeah.
Belichick's going to hate that.
Well, and Belichick was quoted in the story, too, and I'll just read through the quote, too, if you guys don't mind. This sounds very much like Bill Belichick. I have a ton of respect for Sean. I think he's done a great job in the 2 years he's been with the Rams. His teams have performed at an extremely high level. They're very consistent. They're well coached. He has a great scheme. The players executed on a consistent basis at a very high level. He's got a great coaching staff, offense, defense, special teams. They're good in every area. Coach Fossil, Coach Phillips, a great staff. Coach Fish, I know, is an important part of that staff. The coaching, the playing, the consistency. Coach McVay's done a tremendous job out there. He's got a great team.
When he says Coach Fish, is he talking about Jeff Fisher? Is he still involved with the Rams somehow?
Jed Fish.
Yeah, no. Jeff Fisher, Jeff Fisher's been excommunicated from Rams football.
What a quick break on the other side. You mentioned an impassioned piece from Matthew Collar, who you'll hear today on SKOR North Live at 2 o'clock. All he does is write impassioned pieces, Judd. And he had, I don't know about you, what I thought was a very surprising article about Kirk Cousins, some of the things he seems to be good at, some of the things he seems to be not so good at. And it, like I said, I was surprised by some of the things in this article. I want to talk to you about that. You can get in at 651-646-8255 or at SKOR North on the Twitters, and we'll be back right after this in the TCL broadcast studios.
SKOR North.
This is the one they're talking about.
Minnesota sports.
Is that